great night to be streaming, everybody. Hello and welcome to all who are tuning in on YouTube and Facebook. This is Squatch Squad live from Madison, Wisconsin. It is 6:01 p.m., April 17th, 2021. I am your host. My name is Sandra Pokorney. If this is your first visit here, we take these topics seriously, so please respect that. If you act up or misbehave, you'll be gone. That's all there is to it. Shout outs to Vivid Jojo and Rosendo, Ricky, Tea Cake, Guitar Hack, my very good friends Jimmy Bean and Judy Hall. My thoughts are with you right now. Please go check out Will Starr at I Am the Dreamer or Dreamer's Life. Sorry about that. Please go sub to the Jimmy Dore Show. And I have a special announcement. Garden Tractor Days, July 8th through 11th, Thursday through Sunday, Portage, Wisconsin, featuring Sears and Cub Cadet. I will be gone that weekend, so make a note of it. Garden Tractor Days, if you're in the area, stop by. Ricky and I will be there. Stop in and say hello. Ladies and gentlemen, my co-host and the star of Show Me Your Pick and Halenville Live, Fruitcake Tony.
Hey,
Hey man, what's up?
not a lot. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I saw you on Will Starr's show yesterday.
Yeah, I
I,
saw
I
you
was
on Will Starr's show yesterday too.
get out. No
I
way.
did. I certainly did.
Love that guy. It was so much fun. I had a good time with you guys. I really did.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, I
That was
like
a
Will.
lot of
That
fun.
was a lot of fun. We could have gone on all night. Yeah. Um,
Yep. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm excited. We got somebody backstage
We
that's
got a
going to,
special guest.
and he's got some mind blowing stuff that he is going to share with us. But first of
Yes,
all, we need to direct our attention to some very important people. Who do we have with us?
we have. Let's see. Hugh
Hello, James.
Caldwell, Lenny Lou, and Mary, Charles Green. Hey, Charles.
Hey,
James
James.
Severinson.
Hello, James. Sean, my bro,
Severin.
bringing some cornbread tomorrow. I can't wait.
Sean Beer Brower. Nelson Rodriguez. How you guys doing? Nice to see you. Thomas
Uh,
Santiago
Thomas
in
Santiago
the
in
house.
the house. Uh,
Am I missing anybody, Sandra?
I don't think so.
Sean Beer
I
Brower, James Tavern, Thomas Santiago, Nelson Rodriguez, Hugh Caldwell, Lenny Lou, and Mary, Mr. Charles Green,
Mary. Yeah.
Keith H.
Keith
Hey,
H. Hello.
dude.
Just popping
Um,
in.
and
If
we'll
you are
give
just tuning
hugs
in,
out when they arrive.
welcome to Squatch Squad Live. Um,
Yeah,
got a little bit different show going on today. We're not just going to jump right into footage and whatnot. I'm going to read part of an email that was sent to me, and then we're going to intro our guest, and we're going to learn great things. So let me get my glasses, because otherwise I'm
very cool
blind.
guest. This is going to be
Okay.
fun. Fun, fun.
This is Todd's Creek Incident Second Encounter. From Jeffery Lilly to pokorneysandra at gmail.com. You see how easy that was? Sent a story and now I'm reading it. That could be you. Okay, here we go. I was 18, married, worked 2 jobs, but on the weekends, my best friend and I loved to go fishing all over Ohio. We'd fish rivers, lakes, and even creeks. If we could find a good place, we'd fish it always. He'd known about a lake out in northeastern Ohio named Lake Cowan. A good lake, he said, big bass, and even big muskies as well. We made the drive up one day early morning, trying to get there before everyone else and grab a boat. We get a boat. We're in there, he said, as we drove. We arrived at about 7, right as the boathouse opened, and we paid for a boat straight to the other side. We went, lost my spot. We always went away from others. Best way to not spook the fish. We learned that from my Uncle Jack, telling me about being given one bullet as a young kid by his father and told best bring supper back. With that, he'd tell him, and off my uncle went. Always got something rain, sleet, or snow, but I remember he said he'd seen a lot of weird things. He told me a story of having rocks thrown at him in the middle of the woods, feelings of being watched before it had happened, cold chills that made his hair stand up on his arms. Sometimes, even having a rifle wasn't enough to keep his hunt going. He told me as well, if you're out in the middle of nowhere, if that ever happens, run, get out of there. Don't talk, just run. Get out of the area. He said, keep your head down. And this would come to be very knowledgeable later that day. As we were fishing, we changed over to artificial fish. Big ones were banging the stalks of the lily pads out there, so we decided to engage with spoons. Something shiny would get him to hit. We tied on, and I go to the back of the boat. I said to Chris, "Don't hook me, bro." And as I hit the back of the boat and began to fish, a split second later, I feel a tug, and wham, something ripped my hat off my head, and I felt a pain in my ear. I put my fingers on my ear, and blood started to pool. Well, you hooked me. What did I say, bro? I look over, he's laughing. Sorry, bro, as I say. Go now, get me to the boathouse, man. I got to get this out of my ear. We get to the other side. The boathouse clerk comes out and sees me and laughs. You're supposed to hook the fish, not each other. And laughs. Get in here, he said, and I'll cut that out of your ear. He grabs a pair of snips and says, here, bite this stick. I hear a snap, and he's holding the spoon in his hand. You're good now. And hands me a band aid. Well, that's it. I say, let's go home. Bad day. No, Chris says, let's go to Todd's Creek on the way. Stop off. There's a good spot we can wade for white bass. Good ones, he says. I am in pain, but ready to catch something. I said, okay, let's roll. So we leave Lake Cone and we get to Todd's Creek. It's in Moore, Ohio, middle of nowhere. It seemed all open fields and woods. We get there and jump out. We got to walk. Chris says it's back there behind that farmhouse. I look over. It's a good ways, about 700 yards. Whoa. What walk, I say, and we're off. We get there, and he's a little down below me, about 50 feet. We're in the middle of the creek, wading through rooster tails. We're catching one here and there, when all of a sudden I hear a kerplunk. I look around on the other side of the creek. It's all woods. The side we came in on was open field with a fence running all the way through. At this point, I'm in deep. Thought was, what was that? Not thinking of the situation at all. And then again, out of nowhere, a bigger rock right in the creek, right next to me. Splash. It was huge. And I'm tripping at this point. I yelled to Chris, bro, what the hell did you throw that rock? He says, no way, bro. What was that? We both pause and look at each other, and out of the water we ran as fast as the water would allow. We hit the bank running as fast as we could, breathing heavy, soaking wet. Didn't feel like we were getting nowhere. The blue Ford Ranger looked so small from where we were. And what was that Chris said? I looked over, bro, like I know we're out in the middle of nowhere. What the hell throws rocks at you in the middle of nowhere in a creek deep in the woods? We're both flipping at this point. We finally get through the opening in the fence 100 yards from the truck. We hear a pack of dogs barking, chasing something through the woods. I look to Chris as we're running and I yell out, something isn't right with this whole damn day, bro. What the hell's going on? We get to the truck, finally throw the poles in the bed, and climb in, hands shaking like crazy. What just happened to us? He said. I didn't realize at that moment I was scared to put it together, but something was happening in a pattern. This was the second encounter. There would yet be a third, at a later date up the road on a mountain a few years later, the scariest of my life. Ladies and gentlemen, the man who wrote this story and lived it, Jeff Lilly. Hey, man.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming on and thanks for sharing that. You can tell us the first time you met him and the second story that you sent me. I will let you have all of that. So if you want to, you can just take over my show now and we'll ask
All right.
questions as they come up. So tell us, Jeff,
All
first, before you get into any of that, a little bit about you and a little bit about your background.
well, I'm 48. I've spent well over half my life in the woods fishing, hunting. Uh, I did get married when I was younger, but it seemed like to me after I got married, I wanted to spend more time away from home and the kids because I worked so much during the weekdays that I felt like the weekends were for me. And I had a buddy of mine who loved to fish as well. We fished everywhere in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, you know, but mostly Ohio. Um, so, like I said, just spent half my life in the woods, and I've seen things that most other people, don't ever even have a chance to see. And I've heard so many more stories on the subject as well. But this started for me pretty much when I was a kid.
Okay. And what happened when you were a kid?
Well, the first encounter, I was about 8 years old, and my mom always made me take my sister to school. So
Right?
where we grew up, it was a pretty rough town. A lot of bullies. I was a smaller kid, than most. So a lot of the older kids tried to pick on me. So I would always take my sister and go. All the other kids usually took Harper Avenue up. We would go up to the top of our street on Highland and take Highland Avenue away from all the other kids. Well, on the opposite side of the street from the way I walked her was a set of woods, and the name was Indian Mound Woods. That's what they called it, Indian Mound. It was an old sacred Indian burial ground from back in the day. Uh, they built houses and stuff up above it. And then in the lower section of the woods, there were some Indian burial grounds that had never been touched or redug up or anything. They just let them go.
Good.
So kids were always superstitious about that area. Well, I'm walking her home from school one day, and we're about a half a block from the turn to our house. And I hear a loud whoop, and sound like branches at the time from trees shaking. And as that sound's coming, I'm processing that sound. A rock crashes into the street, and then it's like asphalt. It shatters and breaks into a bunch of pieces and goes everywhere. So I automatically stop, turn around. I'm looking up the street, thinking it's the bullies, from school, messing with
Right.
us. And I'm scanning. I don't see nothing. So I'm looking as far as the eye could see, nothing there. So I turn around. And I'm thinking I'm just trying to process the whole situation. So I grab my sister's hand at this point and tuck her to the inside of the sidewalk closest to the fence because I don't know where this rock come from.
Right.
So we turn and we're going to go, we're getting ready to make our turn when the same whoop again and like a snort, like almost like a dog sneezing at the end of it. And then as soon as I heard that, boom, another rock hit the street and it shatters. And at this point, the rocks that shattered off the bigger part of the rock almost hit me and my sister. So I grab her hand and I turn around to see. I can't understand where this is coming from. A cut of the woods where we had an old swing, and there's an opening there, and it's early spring, so everything's not it's not really grown up. And right in between that opening, there's something standing there, and it's humongous. It's black and it's grayish, and it's broad chested, and it's shaking the trees, and it's moving its head back from left to right to where you can't see its face. It's trying to keep its face covered, and it's moving evasive, defensive. And just the immense size of it scared me to death. I don't think my sister so much seen it because she really didn't act on it, but I was kind of mesmerized by it. At first, I thought maybe it might be, somebody in a suit. Like this was the 70s, late 70s. So I'm 8 years old. I don't know what to think at this point with this situation, So I
Right.
just the
Right.
thing was it was just so immensely scary. I grab her hand and I jerk her. I say, "Run now! Don't look back." We make the cut. We go down to the house. I bolt through the door. I say, "Mom, you got to call the police. There's something up on the woods at Indian Mound, and it's going to hurt somebody. It's going to hurt one of these other group of kids that are coming home." And I remember my mom said, "You guys are crazy. You guys don't know what you're talking about. You kids these days are crazy." She said, "Just go back to the back of your room and do your homework." And that's all. She wasn't going to have no more of it. So I just remember being a kid, and that was like something out of a horror movie for me. So
Right.
I
Huh.
remember that night. I didn't sleep that well that night. I can remember back that far. I was scared to death. The back of where my sister and I's room was not too far from the woods themselves. You know what I mean? So, and we had windows back there. I had one by my bed. She had one by hers. And as kids, you think, "Oh my God, this thing, Mom didn't call police, so this thing might come and grab one of us
Right.
up in the middle of the night." Who knows? at the point you're 8 years old. So what, everything you
Yeah.
could possibly think of is running through your head. So
Yeah.
after that incident, I never took her that way ever again. And, because nothing was ever brought about of it. My mom never called police. So from that day forward, we walked Harper Avenue with the rest of the kids, regardless. Now, like I said, looking back on that, like I said, it was late 70s. I was 8 years old. So I didn't really take too much from that incident because that could have been anything, like I said, and we were young. But after the third encounter and what I experienced that night up there on that mountain, that was what confirmed it for me.
Yeah, that's incredible. I read that and I was like, "Oh, oh my god." Yeah, and just the way you describe it, there's no doubt in my mind that you saw Bigfoot. There's absolutely no doubt in my
Just
mind.
you're so young, and like I said, this all started with me from a very early age. Like my dad brothers would always terrorize me and my sister about monsters and if you go into the woods you better watch out for this and that because there's the boogeyman's out there, you better believe it, and we'll grab you up, so like they didn't think I really paid attention to all the advice they gave me over the years, but I really took it all in because
Right.
of
Right.
what happened to me when I was a kid. So I mean, and then the second incident that happened at Todd's Creek, that was, you know I was still young, so but I knew when Chris looked at me that day, the way that he looked at me as I was looking at him at the same time, that could not be explained. So uh, I pretty much knew something was out of the ordinary when that second rock hit. But like,
Oh,
Mm,
he'll be right back.
yeah.
He'll be right back. Holy shit. I mean, wow. Here he is.
on me, it backed that on me. My
Yep,
fault.
that's okay.
That's my
Nope,
that's my
we're
fault.
fine.
So yeah, they pretty much terrorized and tormented us all the way, growing up. My uncles did me pretty much, but they also gave me some good tips as well. Uh, and we always did stuff together too. So one day, my uncle Mike, he stops by the house and uh, says, "You guys want to go up to Tom's? Let's go do some fishing at Tom's." And we went there, many times throughout the day. We just had never went up there night fishing ever. So we agreed to, we still had time to go get minnows and stuff from Bass Pro Shop. So we went there and grabbed them, and we all decided we'd go ahead and make a run for it because it was a pretty decent day. It was warm, it was late September, and we had permission to go up there and fish. Tom already said we could go up there for the night.
Wow. Oh, nice.
So it was about an hour drive from where I'm at now. It's right on the borderline of Ohio and Indiana. It sits right beside the Miami Whitewater Forest. Tom's land does. Now he's got a small
Bring
mountain
up
that
an.
starts out flat. When you get to the top of this mountain, it's like a halfway up. It starts to get steep. It starts at about an 80 degree angle halfway up, and by the time you get up there, you're climbing a 90-degree angle. Like you're exhausted by the time you get up to the top of this mountain.
I bet.
We make it. We get up there, we throw our stuff down because it's warm out, and it didn't matter whether it was cool or warm or whatever. You were always winded when you got up there because of that climb, even though it was pretty much dirt through the middle of that trail all the way up to the top. Just the angle was what got you. So it took you about 20 minutes to recover. So we're up there fishing, and we spread out. Everybody's using artificial bait, and we're burning them up, big old bass and crappie. And then the cows were over on the left-hand side. They always stayed on the left-hand side in the shade. There was a ridge there on the left-hand side that ran all the way back down up towards Tom's house, the backside of it. But then it would bend and wrap around to another lake. It was Lake 2. It was a piece of land that Tom's buddy owned. And from the north part of the lake, you could go up another 150 yards to the north side and climb up, and then you could be at Lake 2 and fish it. But nobody ever had the energy to get that far after that climb to Lake 1.
Right.
So the cows are in the woods on that side. They are right near the left side of the lake, like maybe a 3 feet gap, and they are super steep. straight up. And like I said, the ridge ran all the way back and around the lake too. So we're fishing. I say about midnight, the cows get up and they roll out to the right side of the lake, but then they go up to lake two. Didn't think nothing of it because we'd never been up there night fishing. At this point, we had light sticks on, and everybody was set up for the crappie part of it. Well, about an hour after they made their move, we started hearing something come down off the left side, from off the ridge on the left side of the lake. And I thought deer, so did my dad and my uncles, because you're not guessing anything else other than that. But about 3 o'clock in the morning, it's quiet. Nobody's really talking. Everything quit biting us. So I decided to change my pole over to a bobber and grab some minnows and go over to the left side of the lake. I knew where a hole was. And I go over there, and there was a 5-foot hole I could fish and catch maybe a couple more crappie or bass. So I didn't even tell them what I was doing because we were so competitive when we were up there that I felt like if I told them, they would make me move over there too. So I didn't say nothing. I made my move. I grabbed the bucket. I grabbed a lantern. And as I'm making the turn to go to my spot, I put the lantern on where I'm going to go exactly. I'm looking for my spots where I can find that hole and fish it because it's dark. And I put light on something, crouched down. It was a light cinnamon brown. And it was crouched on 2 legs. And this thing had its hand its right hand was in the lake. Now its back was facing towards me. I put the light on it. As I put the light on it, it raises its hand up out of the lake. I guess it was getting a drink of water. I don't know what it was doing. But you could see it went slow motion at that point. You could see the water dripping from its hand. And at this point, it's realizing it's got light on it. So it's turning its head towards me. And when it does, its mouth's open and it starts to let out a low curling growl. I see the eyes are just like a glaring yellow. And I remember seeing 4 canine teeth, but they weren't sharp. They were like grinded down. They were kind of worn and rounded. And the fur was layered perfect. But this thing wasn't huge. It wasn't broad and immense like the other ones you'd hear stories about, or the one that I'd seen when I was younger. This thing was probably maybe 450, 500 pounds tops. And everything in this face was covered except for the upper cheeks. They were like a dark tannish leathery type look, just a little bit below the eyes. The rest was all hair. Now this thing, we're locked on each other and I'm froze, scared to death. And I'm taking it, this thing is feeling some kind of way because it's froze too. Because I hear stories about they get up and they bolt, but this thing is not moving. It's crouched and it's not moving. Well, I'm not moving either. I'm scared stiff.
Taken by surprise, just like you were. Yeah.
I think it's because we was up there at nighttime.
You both are having, you and the Sasquatch are both having a holy shit kind of moment.
Right. Because at the end of the growl, it did the same thing that happened in the first one. It kind of let out a snort at the end, like it was disgusted. It had been, seen. It had been spotted. I get it. I mean, we were up there at 3 o'clock in the morning. We'd never been up there that late. We'd never, night fished up there. So I thought, looking back on it, we disrupted its schedule. That's what it was used to doing, and we disrupted it. So it had every right to be pissed.
Yeah.
What locked it in for me? As we're doing this thing's never turned. It never turned its back towards me. This its head over its left shoulder, and it keeps glancing at this point to me, a little bit back towards the woods, like it wants to bolt, but it's not making a move. And I slowly hear my dad and my uncles in the background saying, "Junior, what the hell is that? Do you see that? What the hell is that?" But it's not registering. I'm not saying nothing. I'm scared to death.
Right.
It was crazy. I thought I was seeing shit, but we weren't. What was funny is we weren't drinking. The climb was so bad, you couldn't carry a cooler full of drinks or beer up there. Like, there was no way we were drinking and partying up there on that mountain, because you couldn't do that. You were taking what you were drinking, in your hand, or maybe a grocery bag, but you weren't taking enough. So we were all stone cold sober the night that all went down. So at this point, it's starting to register. I'm hearing my dad like, Junior, what the hell is that? Do you see that? So I know they're seeing what I'm seeing, but it's not registering with them either. And I break free at that point, and I'm like, run now, go off the mountain now, go. And I just bolted. The only thing I had in my hand was a lantern, and they hit the slope running, and I hit and I passed them up quick. Now I'm raising the lantern so we can all see where we're going at this point, because it's pitch black down there at the slope where it starts to flatten out. And I slowed down, and they took me out. We all went rolling all the way down, like hitting rocks and logs. And I remember being so scared. I'm trying to grab onto whatever I'm landing into and hitting and crashing into. And I'm trying to push up off of it so I can get use of my legs, but I'm so scared to death I cannot get the use of my legs. I was that paralyzed with fear. It was that intense. And it was like that all the way down to the bottom of the mountain down one here. And it felt like hours.
I bet.
And at the halfway point, I'm thinking any minute, any second, this thing or one of these things is going to come out. It's going to take me or one of them, and this is going to end very badly. But that's just the feeling that you get, I guess, when you go through this situation. It never happened, but the whole time I was expecting something like that to happen. But just glad it never did.
Right. So everybody that was there saw this thing.
Yes, they did, because here's what happened. Tom comes out. We're in his parking lot. And again, we're hands, on knees, and we're sucking for air. Can't breathe, scared to death. I'm crying. I'm bawling like a baby. And Tom's like, what is going on? I heard the ruckus back there. I heard you guys coming down. What happened up there? And my Uncle Mike, like, he just flat, he didn't say what we saw. He just said, something just spooked us up there. So we made a run for it. We dropped all the gear. It's all still up there. But we don't have a fire going, And Tom said, well, that's fine. No big deal. Go up and get it tomorrow or whatever. And so he goes in. And then my Uncle Mike is, we're all trying to get our story together. We're all in a circle, and they're saying, well, what'd you see? I'm like, you know what you've seen? I know what I've seen. You guys know damn well what we saw. Now, at this point, my Uncle Mike's like, well, you know what, Jim? We cannot say a word, Junior, about this to anybody. Because if it gets back that we say something like that, it gets back to Tom, or people are up on Tom's land, at night sneaking in trying to hunt these things because we let, out what we seen, then Tom's going to be mad at us. And I don't want him mad at me, and I definitely don't want him mad enough to where he's not going to let us fish here again. Well, it didn't matter because I never went back after that anyway. So I really didn't care, but they made me swear to tell, to not tell a soul. And I didn't say nothing to nobody for 20 years.
Wow.
And life got really, really shitty after that. I happened to keep that buried. They kind of say it's a blessing to see one, but it's also a curse too. I hear the old myth that, once you see them, things go badly for the one who sees them. Well, that was kind of the case for me. So I just got done with a book about it, and I titled it Blessed and Cursed because, my life has been blessed and cursed, but mostly cursed since that night up there.
From the time that from when you were 8 years old to when you actually your Todd's Creek, did you have any encounters during those years?
Well, what had happened was we always fished, like maybe it was a part of the river down on 32 going towards a place. There was a town called Newtown, and we'd fish down there quite often, but we stopped going there because, we'd caught so many fish up out of that place when white bass ran that we felt like we fished it out. So we quit fishing there for a while. But what was ironic is when we broke away from that and we started doing the Lake Cowan trips and, I started doing the Tom's Mountain thing. Chris never went with me there, but I'd always go to his places with him when I wasn't with my family. But what was weird is so we quit going down there on 32 for a while. But when we ended up after the Thompson mountain encounter, me and him got back together, and we started going back down there a few times together and fishing down there. We started to hear stories from our friends who were older, who were fishing there when we stopped and had fished there throughout the whole time that we didn't. You know what I mean? So when we got back down there, we started to hear stories about a wild man down there, about a guy who was. They said it looked like somebody had dropped this guy off, and he lived down on the riverbank and in the woods for years and never shaved or did anything, hygiene wise, because what they were seeing was somebody that had overgrown hair from head to toe, and a long beard, very little skin showing. And this thing would come through mostly at night and hoot and howl and tear up people's campsites and stuff like that. And they did tell us it was most of it was happening on the left side of the river. Well, we wasn't worried about that, me and him, because we fished the right side. There was a concrete slab down a ways on the bike trail that we fished because it was deep. So that's the only thing I heard about, Sasquatch, other than what I'd experienced, was just stories, But we did experience a few weird, interactions while we were down there, But for me, it would seem almost kind of natural after having the experiences I had, But like I said, it all goes back to the tips that, I was raised on by my dad, my uncles, his brothers, and my uncle Jack. He ended up marrying my dad's sister, Brenda, and he was an Arkansas guy, Arkansas boy. And he was the one who was, he hunted and fished as a kid. Up before he died, he became a professional bass fisherman and a professional bass association. But
Nice.
he lived almost damn near his whole life in the woods. And, the tips that he always had told me was, he said, Junior, I've experienced a lot of weird things in my life. He said, but I'm going to tell you, when you feel weird and your hair starts standing up on the back of your arms, on your arms, back of your neck, it's time to just go.
There's a
Just
reason.
put your head down and walk
Yep.
out of where you're at, because I'm just going to tell you something's off. I'm not going to spook you, but it's best for your safety to just get up out of the area. So I knew all along what he was trying to tell me, but I never really could fathom it until after I had my experiences.
Yeah.
But I tell you, if I could change it all, I wouldn't change a thing, because I wouldn't be able to have the experiences that I had. But then you got to worry about taking on what I've taken on. You got to worry about people, the naysayers. Oh, you're a liar, you're crazy, you're insane, and all the bad things that come with it. But like I said, I know what I've seen in my lifetime, and I'm not worried about it. That's why I've written about it, and I've even written a kid's book about it as well.
Yeah,
I'm just waiting to get with the right publisher.
That backstage, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just waiting the right moment to approach itself,
Yep. We'll let the chat digest that for a minute.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of crazy
So
stuff.
your uncle's telling you these tips because it's probably safe to assume that he probably saw Bigfoots too.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
It just never came out and
Even
just
sometimes-
said it outright. Wow. But
Yeah,
yeah, I've said that on the
quite
show
a few,
too.
I'd say.
Your body is your best warning system. If you feel like there's something watching you, it's because it is. If your hair stands up on
Exactly.
your neck and your arms and you get goosebumps, well, there's a reason for that, and you need to listen to it, because your body don't lie. It's your best detector.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. But I'm gonna tell you, it really, I don't know. Sometimes looking back on it now, I feel like I was so ignorant to the situation, and so many, different times I went fishing throughout the years. Like, say the days that everything is going good and the fish are biting well, you're locked out to everything else going on around you. But on other days, you just get them feelings, and that's when you go with what your body and what just always go with your gut.
Yep.
So that's been the way I've lived my life.
Yeah.
Because after the first encounter at 8 years old, I never knew. I never really knew what to take from that, because it was God forbid. I mean, it was our hometown. There were woods all the way around our city, but to fathom something, that big being in your neck of the woods in a small town like
Yeah.
that, it's a lot to take in. But now that I've talked to people, that are researchers and stuff as well, these things are always migrating. So, they tend to get lost from time to time, and they got to find their way back.
So, if somebody said, Jeff, I'm coming to Ohio, let's go where you were and see if we can have another encounter, what would you say to that person?
Well, I tell you what, I'd have to say, let's go to Todd's Creek, where I didn't see anything. There was only stuff thrown at me. Because I'm gonna tell you, when you see these things, you don't ever really know how you're gonna react until you're under the gun. And somebody
Right.
asked me the question today. Well, why were you so scared, Jeff, when you seen what you seen? And I mean, and the answer was easy. Like, well, just put yourself in my shoes
Yeah.
and envision yourself seeing what I seen at 3 o'clock in the morning on top of a mountain, and everybody up there is unarmed. No matter if it was 500 pounds or if it was 800 or
Yeah.
1,000 pounds, you're still in danger. You're still in danger. So that's why I was scared. I mean, why
Yeah.
are you asking me
Something bigger than you.
idiot?
Yeah. Something's bigger than you and it's growling at you. Yeah, I'd be a little nervous, if not terrified myself. Yeah.
Terrified, totally terrified.
Yeah.
I mean, it was this, like, am I really seeing this? What am I really seeing? So, I'm kind of glad that I froze as long as I did, because it just gave me the extra time that I needed in order to put it all together.
Yeah.
That's why after that, I fished. I didn't go on far out trips. I stayed close to home. Went back to the river, 10 minutes away from our house, near places, near stores, near help, basically, just to be on the
Right.
safe side. I mean,
When
that's
you
just
when
how it
you were
was for me.
when you were walking with that lantern right before the light hit Bigfoot, did you have one of those weird feelings, or did you get a thing like, oh, something's off here, or were you just not paying any mind and just walking along to your fishing spot, and there it was?
Wasn't no feelings out of the way. Like I said, because everything with me pretty much, except for Tom's Mountain, like the first encounter, that happened without warning. Boom, a whoop, and then a rock crashing with another whoop, and then a snort like a dog sneezing, like something was mad, disgusted, and then another rock hit. There was no warning there, just like Todd's Creek. There was no warning. We were 15 minutes into fishing, and I just so happened to look up towards the other side of the woods, because from where we'd come in and seen a rock coming straight at me, but thank God it was coming at an angle and landed beside me. But then when that second one hit, then the warning signs went off, and I knew what to do.
Now, Jeff, up there that night when you left the group with your dad and uncle, and you grabbed the lantern and went. How close? They saw this thing too. When you left the group, how close were you by? Was it a long way? 100 yards? Less than
No,
100 yards?
no, no. I was feet away. I was feet away. So that's
Wow.
that's why I was in such like shock and awe. I was 40 feet, maybe a little less away from this thing. This lake one that we fished, it was a small body of water, but it was super duper packed by the people who lived and owned the land. They stocked that lake themselves. So that's why the fishing was great. The land in the pond itself in Lake One was not big at all. Like, the furthest my dad and them were from me was 80 to 90 feet. See? And that's how I got such, a good sighting is what I got. And that's why the fear was bestowed on me like it was. I was super duper close.
Wow. Well, yeah, he said you could see like the water dripping from its fingers, so it was probably down there
Yeah,
washing
I
its
could see.
face,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
No,
They
okay.
were. I could see the canines. But they weren't sharp. They were like, grinded down. They were old. I was that close with the light on it, I could see everything in fine detail. Like, and I'm gonna tell you another thing. The hair, there was no smell on this thing. Now
Okay,
I
I
don't
was just
know.
gonna
I've
ask
heard
you.
some people say,
Yeah, they
yep,
say
there
there's
was
a
no
horrendous
smell.
smell with them.
Now,
Yeah. Huh. No smell.
right, I didn't smell no smell, and that was ironic to me. But here's what I also thought about looking back on it, the situation. Everything around this habitat where this thing that I've seen lived it's mostly water. So the way this thing would have to travel, it would have to travel through the water routes to even come through the lake too, from the Miami Whitewater Forest side. There's rivers that run all the way down through there and creeks and everything. Like, so, you just gotta add that to, you know, the theory and format all this. Like, so, like I said, its hair was not matted like other stories I'd heard and other sightings and videos as well. Um, and there was no smell, and that's what shocked me the most. But I never smelled nothing the first time either. So, I don't
Huh.
know what to say about that.
Yeah.
Not
Maybe it
always.
depends on the
Maybe
Bigfoot.
you were upwind or something.
Well, that's just it. That's just it. This thing was upwind from us, and Lake One kind of set in like a bowl. Like you had the river on the right side down at the bottom. The right side totally sloped down to the river, all downhill. Then the way up that we come up was all downhill when you left, and then the left side was completely steep, straight downhill. But the ridge come down level. The back of the ridge by times was high, but the closer you got to Lake One, the ridge balanced and leveled out to Lake One perfect. And I think that's how this thing come down. And we just disrupted the schedule. I mean, we were downwind the whole time. That's why I think we disrupted the schedule. Like maybe that was this normal pattern that come down at that time, every night. But we just happened to be there at the wrong place at the
Welcome,
wrong
Open
time that
Woods.
night.
Yeah, Open Woods said he interrupted dinner in space, and who likes that? Yeah, nobody really. And Blackjack Guitar says maybe the Squatch just had a swim, and that's why his hair wasn't matted or no smell.
Right.
Is
You just never know.
what I was thinking. Maybe. No, yeah.
Looking back
Holy
on it
crap.
now, now I've had quite a bit of time to look back on everything. That's what I'm doing, weighing stuff out here and there to put into the books that I'm writing. So that's where I'm at, and a lot of other things come into play when you look back on it and reflect. What could I have done different?
Right.
What was off about other side? Just everything comes into play now. So that's why I'm trying to take it all slow. But I really wanted to get my story out there to the right people. So I'm picking and choosing
We
interviews.
appreciate it. Yeah.
But I'm doing it with the
appreciate
best.
it.
I'm doing it with the best of the best. Right.
What do
And
you
that's
what
why
do
I
you
picked you
think
guys.
about
I'm doing it with the
what do you think about the people that describe Bigfoot as having the glaring red eyes that
I don't know. That could be, maybe there's different species of them. I don't know. What I think, maybe it did have that red eye, but when I put the light on it, its eyes were yellow.
was yellow?
Oh, and so black you could see the pupils. So close too that I could see the pupil. And the eye sockets were huge, but the nose wasn't super long. The bridge was medium sized bridge, and it wasn't so much smashed to its face. It was kind of open at the end, the nostrils are a little over large, overbearing. But just dead on to most of the pictures and videos I've seen. But it was either a juvenile or this thing. Maybe they vary in size depending on their food sources and water sources and whatsoever. So, but like I said, I think this was a juvenile because of the weight, and its head it was coned, but it wasn't coned immense. It wasn't overbearing, like others you see in videos and stuff too. Like there was a coning, but it wasn't anything intense, super intense. You know what I mean? Like it was just beginning. So that's why I thought maybe this thing was a juvenile. It was so small, but still impressive to say the least, compared to us.
Yeah. I'm
All
thinking you
muscle.
probably seen an adolescent one that wasn't full grown yet. That's what I think.
But straight,
Yeah.
yeah, but straight muscle. Like that's why I was so scared. I seen the build of this thing, and trying to outrun it, and you don't even have full use of your legs. Like at any second, I
The,
was expecting this
ex-
thing to come out like from nowhere and get us. Just intense. The feeling was so intense because of how this thing was
our
built.
executive,
Built for speed.
our executive, our executive producer is asking, can you estimate how tall do you think it would have been had it stood up?
If it would have stood up, probably about 7.5 feet.
7 and
It
a half
wasn't no
feet.
8.5, 9. It wasn't no. It was 7.5 at the most. When it was crouched, it was a little bit below me, about 4 foot maybe. Now I was 23 at the time, and I'm only 5'8" at 48. So it was about 4 foot crouch. So we look back on it
Yeah,
later, and
he
we
says
all
it was
come to
probably
we're
10,
probably
11,
seven and a
12
half
years
foot
old.
tops.
So it hadn't even reached adolescent.
Yeah, right. Like because I mean, hell, I'm still learning a lot about these things now. That I'm doing research myself.
Yeah.
Coming to grips with the reality of what it is. You know what I mean? Because I kept this buried for
You
so
never know.
long. There's you forget a lot of things until you start talking about it, like I had with my fiance. Like if it wasn't for her, I'd never even find out. This would all stay a secret. You know, but it is what it is.
Glag.
Her
Yeah.
getting super sick made me see what life was really about, and I
That's
didn't want
true.
to take nothing like this to my grave.
I got to get back to the show.
So I'm pushing like everybody else, and I'm glad I
He
am.
keep he Ricky, the executive producer, keeps bringing up the story of Glag. I forget whose channel it's on. I think it's Sasquatch World Radio. Um, if you get a chance to check out the video or the story of Glag, he talks about actually befriending a Bigfoot, and he says the size that you saw it sounds about the same size as the guy who befriended Glag, and he was only 10, 11, 12 years
Really,
old. Yeah.
right?
So
Like I
the
said,
one that
yeah. This one,
hadn't even hit
yeah.
a growth spurt yet.
He
Yeah, an adult would be any of 9 foot or taller, I would imagine. Oh, he popped out. He'll be back again. Open woods. The eye shine we saw was the size bottom of a soda can. Wow, those are big eyes. Open woods. It sounds like maybe you should email me,
yeah.
pokorneysandra at gmail.com. I'd love to hear your story. Wow.
Sorry, broke up again.
Um,
I'm 10 floors up, so
anybody
it could be the
is there
problem.
anybody else, any of your friends or family, have they ever had any encounters since you've had yours or even beforehand? Because sometimes that happens,
Never.
sometimes it runs in families. Never, huh? Wow.
Unbelievable.
Or if they
I've only had.
had, maybe they wouldn't share. Because there's probably a lot of people in your town that have seen this thing. They're walking by the same woods you and your sister walked by. It's got to be, more
Yeah, I know
people
my uncle
probably
Mike
seen it.
seen them. Oh yeah, my uncle, the one that was up there with us that night. He was an ex-Army Ranger. He did 2 tours in Vietnam, and I've heard stories that he's told my dad and um, my uncle Jack about seeing stuff over there, the stuff that them boys had seen over there in the woods.
Yeah.
But he would never get in full detail about anything that really happened in Vietnam. I mean, he would start to tell you, and then he would just clam up, like
Right.
and then other nights, up on Tom's, uh, or anywhere else that we were at, you know, fishing. He would talk stories, but he would never give you the full details on the whole thing. He would never give you an ending on what happened. He always kept things out in the open and left them that way. Like he would never give you an ending of a story. He always left everybody second guessing and thinking.
Open Woods is asking you the size of the eye shine that you saw.
In diameter, probably I'd say 2.5, 3 inches in diameter, each eye socket. They were pretty immense, pretty big eyes, even for a juvenile. Now I'm not talking length, I'm
Yeah, if
talking
you
in
have a
diameter.
Yeah, that's a big eye. Yeah, if you have a story, thanks Guitar Hack. Put up my email. Um, let us share your story. Just like Jeff did, and now he's a guest on the show. So yeah, and you can remain anonymous. We don't have to show you on camera. You don't have to put your name in. You can remain completely anonymous. Um, we're gonna open it up these last 9 minutes here. If Chad has any questions for Jeff, Tony, or myself, feel free to type them in now. Um,
I have a question. Jeff, in your area, it does sound like it's a hot spot, and hot spots are here and there around the country. In my area of mid North Carolina, historically is not a hot spot. The western area of my state is, but
Right.
in your area, in your lifetime, are there lots of other encounters you hear about?
Yes, tons. Salt Fork Lake up in up in northern Ohio. It's a hot commodity right
oh,
now.
whoops.
I mean,
Never
left
heard
and
that
right.
one.
Salt Fork Lake it's an immense park. There's good videos coming to YouTube from that place up there. It seems like the outer skirts, of the
Let me bring
city,
this map up.
right next to the woods is where we're seeing these things. But Salt Fork Lake is that's the hottest spot going right now in Ohio. It is humongous. They're even flying drones up there in the daytime. It's gotten to be that hot of a spot. People were buying drones and flying them.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's some good YouTube footage on there too. Thinker Thunker has tried to actually break down about 4 of them videos, and he can't do it. He said that's definitely something out of the ordinary. So you might want
We've
to check them
showed some
out. I just seen
videos
them.
from Thinker Thunker. Yeah, we've
Yep,
showed some of his. Yeah, I love the way he breaks them down. I absolutely love it. I mean, he puts
he's a
everything.
pro.
He just throws everything at it. Yeah, he is.
Well,
Yep.
Show
he's
that.
kind of like they're on this Todd Standing guy like he's a big hoaxer. But I'm gonna tell you something. I know Todd seems a little overeager, but he knows his stuff. I mean, I've even found some stuff on his, footage that I don't agree with, but for the most overall part, Todd knows his stuff. I just think he's just overeager, and that's what is getting him labeled.
Lenny Lou is asking if people are hunting them.
Not in Ohio, they're not. They are hunting for a sighting, but nobody. I've not seen a soul with a weapon. That nobody's. I don't think anybody's going to hurt them in Ohio. I really don't. I don't think anybody's. I've not heard of any one person I know that's trying to do them any harm. I think they're safe, pretty much safe here in Ohio. I think it's just these young ones, these young kids out here are getting super over eager to go have encounters, and I think it could end up being dangerous because they've been messing with the one up in Salt Fork lately so much. The last video I seen, he seemed pretty upset and gave the boy a pretty fierce growl and threw a big log at him and run him up out of there ASAP. Boy was scared to
Yeah.
death. He went up there at nighttime. Like, you don't go nowhere like that at nighttime by yourself.
No, no.
Now, on that map, if you can show that map again, Sandra, where is this area on this map, Jeff? If you could show us.
Here we
Salt
go.
Fork is up to the right, where up above the Ohio sign. It's up off to the right in that area. Salt Fork Lake Park, State Park, should be right up in there.
Oh yeah, you
Right
can
up
see
near.
a
It's
little
all.
lake.
Yeah, it's
You
all
can see a little
woods.
lake
It's
and
all
some
woods.
rivers there.
It's all woods and gigantic lake. They have some killer fishing up there with bass. They've been catching 44-inch muskies up there. This lake is huge, and so is the woods and the forest. I've seen so much good footage come out of there on fishing and Bigfoot as well. To be honest with you, the videos are impressive coming out of there. But you're going to have hoaxers everywhere you go. But
Lenny Lou is also asking you if do you think they'll migrate due to all the activity?
yes, I
now?
do. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I think from talking to a couple people that's been in this for a long time, I've been talking to a lot of big people lately. just because I'm getting to be a rig or two, a little bit too much maybe. But they are saying that there's no doubt about it. These things migrate. Even in Canada, they're always on the move. It seems whether people are hunting them or not, they might tend to move a bit more when people are trying to, get out there and hunt them and hunt for sightings. You know what I mean? Not
Right.
hunt them, but hunt them for sightings. I think they're making them move more than what they want, maybe making them migrate more, and it's what's making them mad. And they're starting to run people off. As to give warnings, they're starting to growl and throw stuff at them, bigger stuff that I've seen on video.
Yeah, I wouldn't want
People
any
just need to
more.
get them back off, a little bit.
Yeah, just leave them alone.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
boy
just
bear, the one that they seen up in Salt Fork, one of them was 8.5 foot easy, and like 4.5, 5 foot wide. Like he was
that's a
immense, like
that's a
1,000 pounds. They said 800 to 1,000 pounds. This boy is.
wow, that's a big one.
And there's one in Kentucky too. That's 800 to 1,000 pounds. They catch him going up a hill, and he is humongous.
Wow.
It's on YouTube. Yeah, he's in Kentucky. He's a big boy too. So I mean, there's some big boys out there. But like I said, I've only seen one of them. The second one was this rocks, and the third one, it was impressive. 500 pounds is impressive. But like I said,
Yeah, it
thank God
is.
he wasn't that big because he might have hurt me.
Yeah,
I walked on him
yeah.
a little too close up on him. I was a little too close for comfort. I really,
Right,
really
right.
was. But it was just a
Yeah.
freak accident. It was a freak accident. I think he come down out of them woods,
Jeff K
and I was
says,
coming up on him. I think
great guest. Thank you. Yes, and Original Paramutant says that's 800 to 1,000 pounds of muscle.
straight muscle,
Yeah, there's
straight muscle.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they are
I mean,
strong. We showed footage of this one ripping a tree. One hand grabs a tree, rips it out root and all, and just launches it a good, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 feet. I don't know if you've seen that video, but we've showed that, I think the week before last weekend. And just an incredible piece. And yeah, I mean, they call it superhuman strength. That's a superhero,
raw
superhuman
power.
strength.
Yes, it
I
is.
mean, that's just
Yes, it
incredible.
is.
One-handed. Like I could do it with two, but
Yeah,
you know what I mean? They're incredibly
like they're
strong.
nothing. Like they're like toothpicks. Just
Yeah, I would not want to be
I
on my
seen footage of
dad's
one over here. What we've seen is they've been doing this with deer's legs when like they're hunting deer. We seen a deer on a video. Every one of his legs were broken that way. Like something one of these things that got it and just
Huh.
squeezed its legs out like you would a wet towel. It was crazy to see that. That was
Huh.
wild. They have raw power.
I suppose not much else could do that but a Bigfoot. Damn. That's insane. We got 1 minute
Wicked
left.
but beautiful.
If we have any other questions, any other comments, concerns, Jeff, did you want to add anything?
Well, I hope that audio works out good.
Yeah, well. Do you have any
Yeah.
advice? Whoops. I was going to ask him if he had any advice for anybody going into actively search for a Bigfoot in the forest.
Carry your piece with you.
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't go
Incredible.
unarmed. Yeah.
Incredible. I love this guy. Yeah. Good luck to him on his books.
Mm-hmm.
Looking for a publisher right now. He didn't tell me the titles of them, but I'll get a hold of him in an email and ask him, and we'll mention them on the show. I want to thank everybody in the chat for tuning in. Fruitcake, as always. We got Show Me Your Pick coming up in an hour, celebrating Guns N' Roses. Gonna be a good show. Yep, there you go. I think that's it. Tune in next week. Maybe we'll get to Lizzie Borden then. I'm not sure. Yeah, Lenny Lou, it was a great story. Had a great
Yeah.
time with Jeff.
Yeah.
He's welcome to come on and talk about Bigfoot anytime he wants. So yeah. Um, anything else you want to add, Tony?
No, great guest today, Jeff Lilly. Everybody.
Yes.
Yeah.
Coming up for your Sunday night entertainment, Halenville Live with the one and only Fruitcake Tony, Johnny Bean, and Tom Harhigh. Make sure you tune into that at 10 p.m. Eastern.
10 Sunday. Van Halen. Yay.
Yeah. Otherwise, we're out of here, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Take care of each other. Be
Give
nice.
her your stories. We want to hear your stories.
We do. I'm not kidding when I want to
Don't
say
be
we'd love to
shy.
hear
Don't
it
be
because
shy.
we
You can remain anonymous, but don't be shy. Yeah.
Nope.
Ghost, anything weird that's anything in your area of the world, you know,
Yeah, if
share
it's
it.
strange as fuck, we're into it. So
Share
make
it.
sure you share it with us.
Yeah, share it, please. Absolutely.
All right, guys, we're out of here. Have a great night. Tune in to Show Me Your Pick, Fruitcake Tony's channel here in just 1 hour. Meet me in the chat. We'll be there.